Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Spokane City Council study session. And today we're going to start with the Spokane Neighborhood Leadership Academy, and we're going to welcome Cindy Donahue. Welcome, Cindy.
Good morning. Thank you so much. Hi. Thank you for inviting us to give an update on the Spokane Neighborhood Leadership Academy. I have Tyler Tamush with me, who is a participant who graduated this year and is a very active leader in our neighborhood councils, as well as
He is.
Yes, he is. So he can answer questions at the end from the participant perspective, and we also have Gabby Ryan with us from ONS, and she can talk more about the partnership as well. This is a lot of words, but as you know, Spokane's neighborhood councils play a crucial role in bringing concerns before council and working on improvement projects with the city departments. SNLA began in 2021 as a strength and needs assessment that was recommended by council to review our neighborhood council program. And what we found is that positional leaders and neighborhood councils lack the necessary leadership expertise and understanding of how to navigate city processes and systems. The educational partnership continued with the beginning of the SNLA education program in 2022 with our first cohort, and has continued educating leaders as we work very closely with ONS on recruitment and maintaining relationship with the graduates. We hope to continue our partnership through 2025 and 2026 with some program changes and recommended updates to continue providing strong leaders for Spokane and for City Council to work with. So this is a little bit about the goals. So out of the findings, understanding that we needed to improve understanding of city processes and also just basic understanding of how to lead others. There's also a crucial element of lack of diversity in our neighborhood councils and also how to engage more neighbors. So that's also become more of a focus in our format. So we have a 2-month application and marketing program that begins in November. Last year, we had 31 applicants for 15 positions, so it's become quite a good program in that way. And then the education program itself runs for 5 months, starting off in January and culminating with graduation in May. This is a very long list of our curriculum. We are going to make some updates, but there's a lot more focus on community agreements, on diversity, equity, inclusion programs, and also recruiting volunteers. We also help the participants understand their own strengths as leaders so that they can really lean into those, and also to get to know other leaders throughout the community to form more partnerships. We had incredible mentors this year, including former council member Stratton. We had Carol Tomzik, Luke Tolley, and quite a few neighborhood council chairs. We expanded information about how to recruit and lead volunteers that has become very apparent in our neighborhoods. And the Neighborhood Improvement Project was a really important component of graduation because it really brought together the education program with the real-world knowledge of how to create partnerships for implementation. So our recommendation was to include city leaders more often in the program. As you can see here, we have had quite a bit of representation in some of the districts and not others. So one of our big focuses is that we want to really focus on recruiting from those neighborhoods. So we were going to reach out to the chairs, we're going to go to the council meetings and work with ONS to really target those. We've also had a very big focus on emerging leaders through the Spokane Neighborhood Leadership Academy, and it's become apparent both through our own experience, my own experience, that we also need to focus on educating those positional leaders that have been there for quite a while on how to facilitate effective meetings, how to market through their own neighborhoods, and recruit more volunteers as well. We were very appreciative that we had so many city council members being involved this year. That was a big recommendation that had come through in previous years. So a big thanks to council members Apone and Dillon and to Bingle for coming to speak with the participants. These are some testimonials that we had that we gathered through the post-program surveys. It's had a real impact on the motivation of people to want to serve their community, on learning and education of what leadership means, and on neighborhood outcomes. Gabby let me know that 25 of the graduates, I believe out of 37 or 38, are still involved either in CA or in their neighborhood councils, so it's become very effective. This is a snapshot of the budget. This is how the funds are used to operate SNLA. It is a heavy lift in terms of the marketing and recruitment side, securing speakers, some of whom volunteer, some who don't, and also hosting a meaningful graduation, which is a larger venue. So a lot of the costs are very much associated with teaching the program, updating the curriculum, and the incentives, which are the grocery cards, because participants spend 5 hours of their Saturdays 6 to 7 times during this program, and so we want to make sure they're compensated for that time. One of the things I'd like to work on this coming year is to try to find some sponsors for the lunches and for the incentives so that we can then use more funds to, instead of educate 15 participants, hopefully move that to 20. So the more that we can educate, the better. Oops, wrong one. And this is what I wanted to focus on with you was just some of the updates we really want to make. One of the things that we found is that we have had one whole day on city processes and procedures. It's the first day, no one knows each other, it's a lot to take in all at one time. So we'd like to spread that out and have more staff members from the city, more council members come and have panel discussions, and really spread that education out so that the processes and how you work with the city effectively through the neighborhood councils is repeated over and over again. We'd also like to focus on the partnerships. We had Pia Hallenberg came and spoke about forming partnerships with nonprofits and with companies within each neighborhood and how successful that has been for them. And so we'd like to work on that a little bit more. And also having some tours. You know, how does the waste energy plant work? What happens in a traffic calming workshop? And I think that will really educate people in the real world on how to work with council and how to present effectively and work with you. So we will have more speakers throughout the program instead of just that one full day. We want to have the tours. And if I can secure those sponsors, then we want to cover some of those costs to increase the number of participants in the program. And these are some of the photos from this year. So, yeah, questions?
So, Cindy, this sounds very, I'll share my age, I'm old. So way
too.
back when Spokane Leadership had a very similar program that was scaled down and taught in neighborhoods. So this sounds like a reinvention of that on some model. Is there any opportunity for partnership? Because what you guys are doing is exactly what Leadership Spokane does, just in a different way. So consider how those two groups could maybe interact with each other, because I think some of them are the same people.
Some of them are. Actually, I just saw Jackson this week. She has, as you might know, she got a grant for something called You Should Run. Mm-hmm. And so I do work closely with her. The Leadership Spokane program is great for emerging leaders in our community to get to know one another and to get to know more leaders throughout the city. I saw it when I went through Leadership Spokane in 2020. It was more like a civic MBA where you really learn about community health, you learn about art, you learn about economic development. This is much more focused on, as a leader, what do you need to know to be effective? So it's a little bit different. So that's more about the city of Spokane and being a leader within the community. Whereas what we're doing is educating people, I should go back to that slide, on things like how to facilitate an effective meeting,
Right.
how to recruit volunteers. It's very specific to neighborhood councils, and it's definitely different in terms of topic. So I'll just go back and point some of those out. So things like conflict resolution and de-escalation, those aren't things that are taught. And facilitating meetings, inclusivity and allyship is something that we have in common. And I'd be very happy to work with Jackson on trying to combine some of our education, especially the tours, because Leadership
That was
Spokane
where I
does.
was going to really go. The tours would
Yes,
be great.
I mean, they're very impactful. I personally had toured the jail through Leadership Spokane, and tours like that make a huge impact on you.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely.
for sure.
Great. Councilmember Dillon.
Yeah, thank you so much for this presentation, all the work that you're doing. I think the program is incredible, and I mentioned to you this before the meeting, but at our last town hall at the West Central Community Center and the Neighborhood Council District, we just heard again and again how many folks had come through the program. And seeing that robust engagement, I think, really is a testament to the success of this. And my, I guess, only kind of thought is, you know, Councilmember Cathcart and Klitsky and I are part of the Neighborhood Council work group, and we've been looking at, you know, some different policies related to community assembly and structure. And so I think one area that we're always kind of fine-tuning with neighborhood councils is how do we get buy-in from policy? How do we get more feedback? And that's, again, just always ongoing. There's different ideas around that we've started to you know, push out there, including the council consideration topics that are posted on the site, different places to make it easier to get feedback. But that's something that I think for folks that are going through the curriculum and training that we would really kind of welcome and welcome that opportunity.
What are some of the feedback programs that you are I mean, we'd be happy to work with you on that, but are there the town halls and more conversations in person?
Yeah, I mean, town halls, you know, on our city site, the council consideration page, oftentimes too, it's kind of council member contingent, you know, if someone's seeking feedback, but I think trying to come up with some better system, something that's more streamlined for folks to provide that feedback is something that we're still kind of workshopping.
Gabby, do you want to come in? I mean, I'm just wondering if that's something that we can include ONS on, because we do keep up with all of our alumni and through the neighborhood councils. So that's something that Gabby might need to speak on as well.
Yeah, absolutely. There are some opportunities, including, so I get to kind of be the ONS lead on the CACC meetings, the Community Assembly City Council meetings. Those typically happen quarterly. So if we can meet to talk about more of, especially that avenue tends to be with CA. So if you're looking for a more intentional connection with Community Assembly itself, we can definitely look to adapt the CACC quarterly meetings. In addition to my program, the Community Engagement Grant Program, we have an opportunity, if this doesn't necessarily, SNLA is kind of our like leadership 101. So a lot of times we have our new and aspiring neighborhood leaders going through this program, but our more seasoned leaders that have been for a while, we can provide training. My Community Engagement Grant Program provides funds beyond SNLA to invest in the current neighborhood council structure. So if that includes more additional training for our neighborhood councils, that's an option.
Councilmember Cathcart.
including CA.
Yeah, I was just really curious, what's the kind of timeline, you know, over how many days, weeks does this take, and what is the end goal? Is there a measurable outcome that you're hoping for, or some sort of specific, you know, activity, endeavor that these folks go on to participate in? What's
there it is.
the hope?
So in terms of timeline, we can kick off recruitment and understanding of what SNLA is as an opportunity to become a more effective leader at the Neighborhood Summit. And then we market through the neighborhood councils and with ONS to try and find applicants through basically the end of the year. Then we work together on identifying applicants. We have the kickoff meeting in January, setting expectations and trying to understand what the goal is, which we can talk about more. And then they have 6 in-person classes that have been 4 hours in the past. past. We're thinking about moving that back to 5 again. We're just trying to find what works for people's times and their willingness to commit. I think the end goal is twofold. One is the neighborhood improvement projects were a really big deal this year. I hadn't been there in previous years, so this was my first full year. That gave them an opportunity to take what they learned, creating partnerships, and to continue trying to move those forward. So I would hope that in your town halls and at City Council open forum, that you would hear people presenting projects to you that would improve their neighborhood or solve problems that they're seeing in their neighborhood council. There's one, for instance, that's a plant library that's now permanent at the NECC that had come out of that. So hopefully they'll come up with projects and ideas. I think that Tyler could probably speak to, he presented a safety recommendation for his neighborhood. And so the idea is that these recommendations, having leaders understand how you work with the city, how you lead, that will create positive change for actual projects that go on.
Real quick
Yeah.
before Tyler comes, so you said 5 or 6 classes. Is that over a week, a month?
Oh,
6
sorry.
months?
So from February to May.
Okay, so it's like on a weekend, is that?
Yep, it's on a Saturday. So we kick off on January, and then they do 6 Saturdays, and then they present their neighborhood improvement project on the graduation day.
Okay.
And so that's really the culmination of all the learning.
So I guess, so just to follow up, and maybe this is more similar to what Council President was referring to, but is there any possibility of organizing kind of a one day, one class intensive that could be presented to each neighborhood council as a whole, that just over time, to help get them, not as intensive as what you're doing, not, a final project, none of that stuff, but just some of the basics that you're talking about, running a meeting and some of those sorts of
Inclusivity,
pieces.
yeah.
Because one of the things I heard from that West Central was so many people saying, and these were chairs, but I would not have had the confidence to do this without the leadership program. I would not have stepped up to do this. And I just feel like this even might be a little bit outside of people's comfort zones if they're not necessarily planning to, be a chair and move to doing those positions, but they really want to know more and how to participate and how to be a better member of their neighborhood.
Yeah.
And so I just think if we could figure out some means of having an opportunity like that for all the members of each council, it would probably be really good for the neighborhood system as a whole.
Yeah, some workshop on specific topics like facilitating effective meetings. And I don't know if I said this when I was presenting, but this has really been focused on emerging leaders. But I think that it's important to go back and look at leaders who've been involved in their neighborhood councils for 8, 10, 15 years and re-educate them as well. So there's more consistency across neighborhood councils. Do you want to, Tyler had presented a safety project. I was just curious where that is in terms of the one that you had presented. Are you working with anyone on that?
Currently, we are not working with anyone on that. Actually, I've been reaching out to WashDOT on that because this had to do with the north-south corridor and the little sitting area where the corridor kind of comes off into Minnehaha. So there was a crosswalk that we had presented that we would like to see there because there was no plans on putting one there. And I've been watching people try to cross that road, and that's been a really big safety concern. So that was the intent on our project, was to hopefully get a crosswalk put there. So that
Have you been able to get WashDOT to take a look at that and provide any response?
So Ryan Overton, he's been more responsive than anyone. I've reached out to some of the engineers, but I don't get much back from them. Okay. That's been the issue.
Well, send it our way as well, sure. And we can always try to push it a little harder and make sure they're paying attention.
Absolutely.
And this is why we have SNLA, right? So safety projects are a big one that had come up. Some beautification, a lot of safety. So yeah, we would love to keep the program going. I like the idea of having a mobile, smaller workshops for everyone and open it up a little bit more.
Well, I've offered up my office director because in one of our community assembly meetings, citizens have found it hard to navigate the city website and how to find information. And we do too. Jacoby's just really good at that. But I think that might be something you might want to consider adding to your program as how to navigate the city website and find the information that you're looking for.
It could be a good assignment and then give the feedback back to you, or it could be also kind of a case study on, we could offer feedback and help with that project. Yeah, I'd like that.
Scavenger hunt for amendments and on the city website.
Find Councilmember Dillon's latest proposal.
Reorganizing websites is a big project, so good luck to you.
Great. Any other questions for Cindy? Well, again, thank you for the work you do. Thank you for coming down it has been proven to be a valuable project, so we look forward to continued support.
Thank you all so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tyler. Next, we're going to have Ariel and Melissa come up and talk to us about CHHS warming and cooling center plan and the overview of the track.
Thank you.
I have to say, we've been waiting with bated breath, Ariel, on this.
Okay. All right. Well, hopefully then today is helpful. Good morning, everybody. Thank you. I can see that, but I don't have my glasses, so I'm going to open this up just so as we move through. I don't get lost. So just as an aside for the inclement weather, CHHS works with Sarah Nuss to kind of plan out for the year what our inclement weather response is going to be. She is on vacation, but we do have a completed briefing paper as well as the data that would accompany that. We're waiting on a couple final invoices from the library before we can actually have that as a whole packet. So just know that that's coming and probably by next Monday or Tuesday. But I would suspect that by now, Sarah would have received those final invoices. So, okay. So first slide here just kind of gives a general sense of what the total number of those emergency shelter beds looked like since the beginning of January 1, 2024 until September 1 of this year. You see those two lines for the month of January because there was a bit of an uptick from January 1st to January 11th. Now, I was not here, and I'm not sure what that increase was about, but an increase nonetheless. And then you can just kind of see slowly those beds dropping off, which, of course, correlates with the fact that COVID money also has been dwindling right around at the same time. So here just really is kind of a breakdown generally. In the winter of 2024, those were some of the surge beds that you see there that were implemented, and which included Cannon, Track, Jules, Revive, CAT. And then in the summer of 2024, Track, expanded library hours, expanded pool hours. And I think one of the really key things here is better and more intentional communication with the street outreach teams, which would also include the medical side as well. So we know that every season there's going to be a group of folks that just simply won't come in and access shelter. So at that point, that really we are leaning into those outreach teams to go and check on folks, make sure that they're hydrated. And so that is one thing that we're, I think very proud of, at least for this last summer season, and then also getting out bottled water as well and trying to support the outreach teams. I will say that most of them were already kind of loaded up, but the city was and did help assist with getting donations and then getting those out to the community partners, libraries, et cetera. So you may know, so a couple weeks ago, we had submitted a request for information, very different than an RFP, right? So this was just to kind of get a touch point of what the community might offer to, provide some long-term stability for what we're going to do during inclement weather times. So every year, right, we know it's going to get cold, we know it's going to get hot, probably going to get smoky. So what can we do to stop being reactionary to that and better plan? And so we did get responses. As of about 4:45 last night, we'd only gotten 2, but then the rest of them came in. So deadline was at 5 p.m. I can appreciate people that take that literally. So So here, I'm just going to go over very, generally the applicants and then also the subpopulation. And in some instances, it was very clear where the site location would be. In other instances, not so much. So we have, Family Promise. Obviously, they serve families with children. And this would be more of a pop-up shelter model. For those of you that know the history of Family Promise, they have been doing scattered site for, decades. And not just in Spokane, but throughout the nation, but really leaning into churches, particularly for families, for that subpopulation. So that's about 22 folks, a little over $66 per individual per night. So that is key too. So depending on the household size. Then you've got Salvation Army. This was through their safe shelter and total numbers of individuals served here. So I do want to clarify, they had 11 units. So on the low end, you're looking at 33 people, potentially. So if you got a household of 3, high end would be 7. That's the most that could be accommodated in those units. And then you see the cost there. Then you've got the Salvation Army, single men and women. That would be the proposed site there was track. And then you've got the total number of individuals served, 175, for a total cost is $75 per person.
So
They-
Ariel, my
yes,
question is on
sure.
these numbers, is this inclusive? Is this food and?
It is everything.
This is an inclusive
Yep,
number.
that is the inclusive number, and that really is the direction that we want to be going, moving forward with emergency shelter, but then especially with surge capacity too. So we're just trying it with surge. Is what is that actual cost? What's the overall cost to the city?
So just remedial for me,
Yeah.
we've been paying, if we go with this stated cost of $75, that's like $11,000 a month, where we've been paying hundreds of thousands. So it just begs the question, what's different
Right.
now in this proposal? So I guess at some point, I would probably want to get a little bit better understanding of that. Councilmember Cathcart.
To that point, that was the exact reason why there was a demand for an audit last December. And instead of getting an audit, we got a count of beds.
And the audit being,
Financial.
Financial.
Track, especially.
okay. Happy to help facilitate that, if that is the request.
Definitely.
So-
For me. anyway.
Okay. Okay, then we've got Salvation Army again, and this is men and women. And Catholic Charities, House of Charity, total number there is 55. And cost per individual per night is $55 per night. Then you've got Revive. This is kind of a scatter model, so you'll see there it's 10 designated beds for single men, and then 5 rooms, typically designated for women, but they are able to accommodate small families. So again, just kind of expanding out that, for the family households.
Ariel,
Oh, yes. Sorry.
can you go back?
Yes.
So who, for each of these,
Yeah.
who are the specific targeted demographic that would be asked to go to any of these specific sites?
So I think that largely depends on how we define what that referral pipeline is going to look like, right? So in my mind, my automatic default would always be leaning, again, into the street outreach folks, but then also for any emergency shelters during inclement weather that may have, wait lists, right? So again, those are 2 kind of low-hanging fruit referral pipelines.
So let me be more specific.
Okay.
Way out shelter.
Got
This
it.
has been a very long fight. And the fact that it's on this list gives me incredible concern.
Okay.
The entire point is that it's transitional, meaning people are getting off drugs, they're getting away from the bad elements. And if there's even the remotest of possibilities that is going to be a low barrier space, combining the people who are desperately trying to improve themselves with the people who are not,
Yeah.
that is not an acceptable option. This was a fight council had. It had to do with good neighbor agreements. It had to do with a lot of things. And it finally got settled when there was an agreement that, no, we are not going to put low barrier individuals in a facility that is intended to be helping people transition.
Sure.
And so the fact that it's up there gives me a whole lot of concern that that's contemplated.
Okay, so, and that's, you know, I mean, I can't control who responds to an RFI. I do want to say that this is not establishing a contractual relationship at all. It was just trying to get a sense of what was out there. And, you know, and I would agree, I mean, I think there's actually a few of these that would require deeper conversation with the provider, right? And so, and that certainly, we will be sure to highlight that.
Yeah, I think that those are big conversations to be had. So.
Yeah. And I will say, too, that the Way Out Center, you know, you've got this separated, you know, from the downstairs and, you know, versus the upstairs.
That was the argument they tried to make. You're
Sure,
still combining
yeah,
the
I mean,
populations in an inappropriate way.
I'm just, you know, I'm just logistically, I guess, and, yeah, just trying to make that distinction. Okay, so then very last but not least is the new community church, or better known as Shalom. And so here, a little bit more, you know, slight restrictions. One, it would only be winter that they would be able to accommodate, and then no Saturday service because they've got church on Sunday morning. But you can see here, it's a very, you know, modest number, 10 folks, and $75 a night. And I don't know if you all picked up on this or not, but there were just a couple, I think Revive and just a new community that would have some initial startup costs just to get the beds or the cots rather, and linens. So the results, overall results, right? So this is a very based, you know, number, not broken out by demographic or anything like that. But, you know, low end would be 357, and that's taking into account that the safe shelter that there was so much variation between 33 individuals v. 77. But I wanted to be more conservative. And then the total average cost per night, you're looking at about $70.
Okay, so two things. We got the proposal from the Salvation Army. Their location would be track. So we're confused about closing track, that's kind of the narrative we've heard, and then maintaining track for surge, which is what that would be. And then my last question was, I saw in the paper when it was announced that DSHS or Home and Community Services had planned or it came out to evaluate people who were in there, and did we have any data on that?
Sure. So, and Melissa's going to speak to that in a
Okay.
moment because we're going to talk about the track decommissioning.
Okay.
So, you know, again, this is just an RFI, right? So there's no, you know, I don't have any narrative to add in terms of, you know, who applied. Go ahead. Sorry, council member.
No, I wasn't trying to interrupt you. I was just trying to catch her eye.
Yeah.
So I think the question is, so Salvation Army felt like they could do this proposal. I'm assuming that rent or ownership of track is not included in their proposal. So they're just assuming that track's going to be available to them when they do this RFI?
I think that they're trying to look at potential open sites, yes. And I don't think it didn't strike me as odd that they would have, out of the three that they proposed, that track came up. I mean, they've been an operator there for a bit, so.
I know. Okay.
Councilman Cathcart.
Yeah, to that point, obviously it's what, 30-some thousand a month. We're contracted, so it's not like we could just get out of that tomorrow per se. But if we know that we are obligated to pay that, then that gives us an incentive to find other uses for that facility in the meantime. If we're just going to sit and let it sit vacant for the 10, 20 days-ish, I guess my question is, what's the rationale behind that? Where does the $360,000 come from to pay for track? Is it out of that 250? And so are we now saying that we have to inflate that to 500 to account for all this? Just how is all that going to work?
So that I am not prepared to answer in terms of, you know, other uses for that site. You know, I
Because we could
don't know.
sublease it, we could try to end that contract and get out of it in what, eight months, I think. So might possibly use it as a warming or a cooling next August, you know, that's basically a commitment of $360,000 for that year, whereas maybe that'd be about 300 if we can get out of that lease a little early and then,
Sure.
or if we could get a sublease, cover
Right.
it entirely.
Yeah, yeah. And these are discussions that I've not been privy to, if they have been happening. Again, I think it's just, you know, because Salvation Army has been operating there, it was an option for them when they responded to the RFI. So,
So Ariel, one
Yeah.
more question before
Yeah.
you move on.
Sure.
So our current scatter site models did not respond to this?
no. No, where there was, well, I mean, I guess that depends. So, I mean, Revive responded, but not in the context of, I mean, that's separate and apart
Right.
from their role at the navigation center.
But we
So,
have two scatter site models currently.
yep. So Jules, we've got the Jules, and then Revive to a certain extent. Jules did not respond to the RFI.
All right, thank you.
Council
Yeah.
President.
Can I
Councilor
ask a
Cathcart.
question?
Lily's online.
Oh, I'm going to go to Councilmember Lilly, and I'll come back to Councilmember Cathcart. Navarrete, sorry, Lily.
That's okay. Sorry, I thought I kept raising my hand. Ariel, Morningstar, are they also part? I didn't see it in the list.
Who is it?
Morning Star. I think that's under the Jules contract, Morning Star Missionary Baptist Church.
Oh, no, they did not respond to the RFI.
Okay. Anything else?
Couple, oh,
Sorry,
Anything-
it's just real quick. I spoke to Pastor Kendricks yesterday, and he did ask where you know this was because he hasn't received any information. So maybe there's some sort of miscommunication. If you like, maybe to connect with him and see what's happening, because I know he asked about this yesterday when I saw him.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, I mean, again, this is just an RFI, so it doesn't mean, you know, when we put out the RFP, folks can apply. So, council member, I would just ask that if you have that individual's email, let me know, and we can make sure that we get them on the provider list, that we push it out a lot of different ways, but that way we just know that he'll get it.
Thank you. Councilmember Cathcart.
yeah, two more questions. So one is, well, I guess, is there more to the presentation?
There is,
Maybe
yeah,
you'll
and we
get
don't
to
have
my-
to go. We don't have to go over this. I just wanted, so the county, Spokane County, actually put out on the same day the almost a exact replica of what the city did. So this was kind of a unified effort regionally, and this was kind of, these were the responses that the county received from certain agencies. So again, not a shock. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, yeah, I guess, I mean, two of them are City of Spokane and one is City of Medical Lake. So, I was Mayor Cooper a part of that? I'd be very curious to know if they were read in on that. So, yeah, I guess my question was, the mayor had announced yesterday at the DSP board meeting that there was some version of an agreement, collaboration between Spokane Valley, and the county. And I'm just wondering, you know, what does that agreement look like? Does it include shelter? I mean, maybe this answers the question, but does it include shelters in the unincorporated? Does it include shelters in the valley? What does that agreement kind of mean? And then the last piece is, what about those who are not necessarily homeless but don't have the means to cool, warm, get out of the elements? I didn't see a single location that would really be suitable for those individuals. So what's the plan for them?
Yeah, so if you mean for folks that have mobility issues in particular?
Folks
or-
who are low income that live in Hilliard, don't have air conditioning, don't have heat, need to
Yeah.
go somewhere to improve their situation, where are they going?
Yeah, so I think I think a piece of that is to better understand what that might look like. I mean, I guess my initial reaction to that would be to lean into the community center, so NECA would be one solution to that.
But that would cost them money, so
Sure,
is there a
yeah.
plan to fund a 24-hour?
There wasn't a response from NECA in terms of,
Well,
so
right, but,
I guess
but
that's.
the code, the SMC says that
Yeah.
we shall have this plan. It doesn't mean
Yeah.
that they have to respond to an RFI.
Sure.
It means we shall
Oh,
proactively
yes.
put this plan together.
So, and I apologize for that. So in that briefing paper, you'll see, I mean, we increased those, the hours for the libraries. We increased pool hours.
But it was all
and-
the exact same stuff that the previous administration had done, that they were heavily criticized for not doing enough of. and we replicated what they did. So I guess
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, and I didn't say anything because it's the mayor's first year, just
Yeah.
getting up to speed, but it's almost September. I believe the plan is supposed to be due in September. And so what's the plan?
Right. So I guess, again, what I would wait for then is that briefing paper, see if that might answer some of the questions that you have. If there's still concern, then at that point, hopefully that will, cultivate some further discussion on that point. So.
Councilmember Dillon.
I can help answer Councilmember Cathcart's first question about the regional,
Yeah.
just kind of conversation. Some of that came out of the last sort of regional authority meeting that we did have about just starting a data sharing kind of agreement and looking at what beds, opportunities, funding looked like to kind of, and staff were really tasked with kind of taking that back and doing that homework and then presenting it at the next regional gathering. So it was kind of limited to more kind of data, bed space.
Okay,
Yeah.
because her announcement was specifically an agreement on inclement weather. She didn't go into any details, but it was an
Okay.
agreement on inclement weather. So I just,
Yeah, so what I will say is that there was a very deliberate effort to, to work together on putting out this RFI to get a sense of what was going to be available throughout our continuum, right? Which is, it includes the whole of Spokane. So, for just public edification, that is why I included the responses that came through to Spokane County. Now, there is going to be some overlap, but I think too it's important to show that that there is a response available, even though it may even be more limited than what you're seeing here. But there are options, or there are at least organizations that are wanting to expand outside of the city. So.
I'm going to go Councilmember Zepone, and I'll come back to Councilmember Cathcart.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank you for this information. I know the last 2 years that I've been on council, we haven't even been presented this information of what potential beds are available, what are the options, and who's interested. So I really appreciate that. And I think from the council perspective, budgetary impact is really important here. And I was just wondering, historically, we allocate $250,000. That's from the general fund, right?
That's correct.
That seems like it's not a lot of days for
Right.
the cost
Yeah.
of what's available. So I don't know, have you done any analysis of how many days historically we've needed inclement weather, or what the needs are in the system for, is 350 the right number, or do we need more or less?
Yeah, so I mean, the 250,000, so that's kind of in that summary though, that is supposed to take us out for the whole year for every season, right? And so obviously that's not enough money. And so in terms of a deep analysis, no, that has not happened yet. It's going to have to. I think likely in the past, we haven't really had to do that, right? Because we've had a lot of influx of funds in our community where it's just been able to serve what that need is. Different times now. And so it really is going to take a thoughtful, deep dive into what is it that we have available, what is that need, and then how does this new model for the navigation center and the scattered site play into that, right? So the hope is that too, for the unsheltered piece of things, will help kind of alleviate some of that pressure. So as I say here, the next step is to put out an RFP. So that will be happening. I would love an opportunity to work, I think, collectively, and knowing what you know now, you've got this PowerPoint. Happy to also provide the applications too, which are super short. In some cases, some folks just embedded it into an email. But maybe that might, generate some more questions so that we can kind of tailor an RFP and get in front of those questions, right, ahead of time. The other thing I'll say is that the county, the valley, and the city, we are bringing all the providers that responded to the RFI together in one meeting next week in order to ask some of the questions that maybe we weren't clear on, or whatever. So.
Go ahead, Councilmember Cathcart.
just the last thing, I think one of the things I would definitely look for, especially if the way a regional agreement is going to work is that essentially the impacts are going to all be in the city of Spokane, there needs to be an agreement on how the valley and the county will defray those impacts. And so putting more people at second and division, which is one of the proposals, how much money are they going to put in for policing? How much money are they going to put in for code enforcement? How much money are they going to put in for, all those impacts, because their constituents are being moved into the city of Spokane.
Sure.
And that has to be a part of that agreement.
Yeah.
And it's got to be, that's part of being a good neighbor, is if they're going to utilize our services, then they need to participate in the impacts that they'd be creating.
Yeah, understood. And I'm not, I can't speak on behalf of the county. Again, I'm just the messenger of information here, so.
Hang on one second, Councilmember Dillon.
Yeah, just thank you. And I agree. I think too, just the policy overlaps with, good neighbor agreement, public siting, how this all happens at the same time. The other question that I have, and pardon my ignorance on this, is people leaving and exiting. So I've heard that at TRAC specifically, there was people who've had to leave for medical issues and then can't get back in. That to me presents a real challenge in how they work with the street teams and do a lot of medical referrals, wellness checks. So I think that is something that we have to better understand through a policy too.
Sure, yeah, and I did, so I kind of caught wind of something similar, and I did talk to Salvation Army last week about that, and they had indicated that was not going on. Anyways, just know that is, at least for me, that was addressed the best that I thought that I could address it, so.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so there's no other questions. Now we can talk about the track decommissioning, and Melissa will be talking about that.
Thank you. So good afternoon, and just want to give a brief update on the current track decommissioning. So right now, they're at about 119 guests at track, so that's down from about 250 a month ago. So we're seeing a steady decline of folks. And some of the strategies that are being used to help address the guests still at track we're doing weekly provider meetings. So that's being led by the Salvation Army and Revive, where individuals are staffed every week by a call of community providers. So there's usually 30 to 40 different folks on the phone. We're going one by one, looking at their name, their age, any barriers they might have, so we can come up with ideas and brainstorm potential referral sources. Second, we're really trying to coordinate better with the community-based services. So we are having close coordination with AltQ and HCS. So long-term care services have been out to do some assessments. AltQ is coordinating with folks because there has been a sizable population of people over the age of 65 or folks that do experience disabilities. I think, one thing to highlight with the coordination of the community-based services is it is also taking folks outside of that homeless crisis response system. If folks qualify for HCS or some of those long-term care services, that'll be paid by Medicaid. So, it takes it out of our local funds in the homeless crisis response system. There's also been an increased effort to identify veterans and coordinate more closely with the VA. And so there have been some folks that have been identified as vets. So working with the case managers and social workers with the VA to find other resources for them.
Melissa, on veterans, so I just heard anecdotally that we don't really have a large population of homeless veterans. Who is keeping that data? Where does that reside, or how is that?
So Goodwill with the SSVF program is kind of the homeless veteran response system, but then there's also the VA that does have like the VASH program and some other services that do, serve vets in our community. So we do, veterans are a subpopulation. We have a committee at the COC for veterans, but I would say Goodwill with the SSVF program and the VA are kind of the main players with that population. We're doing some increased coordinated entry and case management. So there's been a big community effort in the last month to make sure that the folks at track have all had a coordinated entry assessment completed. Last week, there was about a third of folks there have had coordinated entry assessments. So Amy, I say Amy with SNAP, like everyone knows who Amy with SNAP is, but Amy Johnson with SNAP has been out to train to make sure all the providers or case managers at TRAC are able to do coordinated entry assessments. Ariel's actually going this weekend to do some coordinated entry assessments. Some folks from the health department are, so it's all hands on deck to make sure those assessments are done. Folks are in the CMIS system, and we can make sure referrals are happening. We're also having close coordination with VOA to make sure that any young adults under the age of 24 are connected with YHDP, the Youth Homelessness Administration Project funds, because there are some transitional housing, rapid rehousing funds that are available that we do need to be spending pretty quickly. So helping to make sure that those folks are coordinating with. And then finally, we're doing continued scatter site planning. Empire Health Foundation is trying to identify more scattered site options, and that we'll have about $2.55 million to support that scattered site model. So just, all of these are, parallel tracks. And that's one thing that Ariel and I attend those weekly provider meetings, and that we're really pushing is we can't do one at a time. We need to be doing them all concurrently. So any questions on the track?
Okay, this is my day. So currently we're at 119, and the weather is changing already. It's colder at nights. So what's the plan in the uptick between now and when we close? Because it is going to happen. So is that budgeted for? What's our strategy around that? 119 is great, but it's going to increase.
Well, and I think, that is something that we're talking every week about at that provider meeting, is that everyone knows that October 31st is coming, and it's coming quickly, and nights are getting colder. So what are we doing as a community to coordinate, these individuals? And I think that is the key piece of having that weekly staffing where we're talking about individual cases, is that we can find solutions. Folks have been moved into transitional housing. They're being moved into other, longer term options, and so we just have to continue to keep doing that.
Any other questions? Thank you both for that update. Anything else you guys want to share? We didn't shoot the messengers, so let's put that in the win column. All right, thank you so much. That concludes our study session for today. Thanks all who zoomed in and online in person. We will see you on Monday at our regular briefing session. Have a great weekend. We are adjourned.
And no committee Monday.